Ali Guru, legendary investor, Michael mentor, godfather of entrepreneurship education. Are some of the well-earned titles for today's speaker. Mr. Rekhi, founder of Exelon, co-founder TAI, Inventus Capital, and Growth Venture, and so on. We are extremely fortunate to have this opportunity to listen and learn from you today. Mission of TAI, NVC course also aims to promote entrepreneurship through mentoring, networking, and education. I had for the honor of introducing you today to our students who aspire to be entrepreneurs. I wanted to share only two of the most striking thoughts of wisdoms of yours. Stay humble, stay connected, stay good, never connect with the crowd. It is amazing how to exemplify this. These of yours is something when we, an entrepreneurship educator always says that entrepreneurship is all about passion. Decided to pitch in your own money in your first venture along with the co-founders. You did exactly that. You believed in the idea, you had the passion, and you went ahead. But with that, what you go on to say is what I wanted to share with the students. Alone is not enough. It is necessary to have discipline. And want to pursue your dream, go for outside money because that will bring in discipline. The capitalist will make sure that you focus on numbers, you focus on all the right things. Sir, again, we are privileged to have this opportunity to listen to you. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, this is Raju. I just wanted to chime in, just add a couple words before
Yes,
we hand it over to Kanwal. Is that okay?
Raju, before you do that,
Please go ahead.
I request campuses to go on mute. So there's feedback. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Kanwal and good morning, fellow Bixians and faculty of Bixpilni, all the three campuses. I'm just really thrilled that we're able to get time with Kanwal Rekhi today, a legendary entrepreneur who certainly needs introduction. I just want to share a few things about from my personal perspective. I had the great privilege and benefit of having been mentored by him over several years actually. And a lot of very successful entrepreneurs and venture capitalists here in Silicon Valley, and for that matter, anywhere else in the world. And but there's none that I can think of, and I think this is something a lot of other people here are certainly in the Valley will attest to, who have had that sort of a multiplier effect on so many other entrepreneurs. Somebody who's devoted his life, intellect, and his commitment to knowing successful entrepreneurs, not just here in Silicon Valley, but in the world over. And increasingly, of course, Kanwal has been spending a lot of time lately in India and helping young entrepreneurs build great companies. Perhaps one of the best known people like young companies coming out of India over the last few years is a company founded by Bixian, a company called Milani Soft Labs, by the way, but more popularly known as the Red Bus by the brand name. And that company, again, that Kanwal has been mentoring, but also his fund investors, is invested in that. And for me, he's been much more than just a mentor in helping build a successful business. He's just a phenomenal role model, and some of the that Nizla Madam you talked about, kind of staying humble and staying grounded. I mean, those are absolutely. And one of the other things that Kanwal often talks about is having the intellectual honesty. and not just in business, but in general in life. And so he's been just an extraordinary role model for me in many ways. Always demonstrating the highest standards of ethics and integrity, something that I hold extremely dear. And I found that this morning, of course, Arvind Agarwal, who probably knew him even longer than I have, from his days at Excellent, is also on the call. So it's so wonderful to have him on this call. And Carl, obviously, he can talk about it much more, but my sense is he's had a very successful, and a very positive history with a lot of Bitcoins, certainly with my company where I've benefited from it immensely. And Redbus, that we talked about, but his very first venture, Excellent, had, Bitcoins who were in leadership roles, and Arvind being one of them. So that, once again, I'm so thrilled. Thank you very, very much for making the time today, and I'm sure we'd love to have you out in each of the BITS campuses, in coming months when calendar permits. And thanks again. And unless you want to add anything else, okay, please go ahead.
No, thanks for that intro. Kanwal, I just wanted to thank you for coming. I also want to give a background about who is in the classroom, so you have a sense of who you're talking to. Amazing group of student entrepreneurs from different campuses, Pilani, with Goa, and with Hyderabad. And there are about 200 people total in the program, and they have to about 25 to 30 startup teams. I said 25 to 30 because some of them change course in the middle of the course, and so that's why they're at different stages. Now, they are at a point where, if you think about it, most of them had no real-world experience in terms of working at a job. The best they had is an internship. It's amazing. Their entrepreneurial energy is just remarkable, because I think the power of not having work means they're blind to what cannot work, which is great as an entrepreneur. And they are hungry to go do it, and they want to know how to think big, how to make it big, and how to remove all the fears and the inhibitions that they have to actually go succeed. And they range from all years. They range from year 2 of their undergrad program to 4th, 5th year, which also has a dual degree program. There are also some higher degree programs in the course as well, higher degree students as well in the program. And so that's the background of the students. They started in August, and their goal by the end of November is to achieve quote-unquote product market fit. So that means they identify enough customers who will have interest in their product, and then show substantial traction towards that goal. And so if you could just inspire them about how to, and the other thing that I see a lot of them at this point, some of them are making good progress, positive direction. Some are stuck, am I going the right direction? Have a lot of self-doubt. I am not sure if the team is working out. How to go along, have these doubts creep in? How do you actually become an entrepreneur? Persistence is the mantra. So background, and I'll turn it over to you without any further delay. So thanks for coming and taking the time early in the morning on Saturday, and also thanks to Raju, who's come in spite of some personal emergencies. I appreciate that, and welcome Arvind as well. So over. Kanwal, hear you. Maybe you're on mute. You know, yes.
So how much time do we have for this session in total?
90 minutes from the beginning at 7 a.m. So 8:30 a.m. is when it.
So we will speak for about an hour, and then an hour of interaction. Is that all right?
That'd be amazing. Yeah, exactly.
So good morning, everybody. I am one of those accidental entrepreneurs. I come from a family of army background. My father was an army officer. So was his father. So are my uncles, my elder brothers. My eldest brother went to MBA in Pune, Church Vasana, and my other brother went to MA. So I decided to engineer. It was a big disappointment to my father. And when I got into IIT, my father had not heard about IIT. And he was pushing me to go to NDA, IMA. And, he said, what's wrong with you? Do you do IIT for 4 years? Do you have to tuition? Do you have a job when you come out? The answer was, no, I don't have a job when I come out. what's wrong with you? Why don't you join the army like everybody else? You have for life. You don't have to pay your tuition for next 3-4 years when you go to MBA, and you have a pension. That's the mindset of the family, that it's just your pension. But I was pretty restless as a person, and I did fairly well. I came out of IIT, of course, like everybody else. I went to US. Back then in 1967, there weren't many jobs in India. Young people don't have idea how bad things are. The best you could do at the time was to become a sales trainee or one of those management trainees at DCM or one of these companies for 400 rupees a month. Nothing to do with the IIT education at all. You couldn't think of becoming a design engineer or working engineer. There wasn't much of that in India. But the bad was very, very bad, and when I got to US, I discovered, that we had a natural talent here, coming from IITs in India. We were hungry, we were anxious, we were very competitive, and as a result, we did very, very well at universities. The competition here wasn't as tough as we might have thought, because people were very satisfied with their lives and hungry. I ended up in Silicon Valley in 1971. About a dozen years. But in Silicon Valley, you are with the best of the best, and you're competing against the best of the best. Friends are starting companies, and one person who worked for me, he was a sort of junior engineer in my lab, at my company, and he left to start a company. I left to start a company, and I saw in the newspapers there was a company called Altos Computers, which is one of the original hard box companies back in late, I think it was 1980-81. Came out of nowhere, a G80 based CPM machine, and the original hard parts, it was very built very quickly. And there was a person by the name of David Jackson. He actually had worked for me for about 2 years. He was a decent engineer, but he was not a big IIT by any means. And he had left to go start the company. And I had been working at my job for 9 years at that time, and I was beginning to feel a little bit stagnant. And when I saw the news that David Jackson, the person who had been paid by me, had become an entrepreneur, that really hit me like a ton. I couldn't, it totally hurt me as a person. I could sleep after that, but I said, no, this guy has become an entrepreneur, and I'm here, still holding a job. I started to, reflect on that one. What's holding me back? And there was that should have been holding me back. I was married, and I had small kids at the time, but I very well set, and this is now 1980-81. I was getting about $75,000 a year. In 81, $75,000 a year, would be equivalent to me about $250,000 a year right now in Delhi. It was a top income. You could live well. You could have house. You could have 2 cars. So I thought I had become very well settled, and was making good money, and become sort of a lifer. And but David Jackson, becoming an entrepreneur, totally unsettled me. So for about a week, 2 weeks, I just could not sleep at night. Why am I a lifer? Why am I not out there like David Jackson? Why am I not taking the risk? So I finally noticed, what's bothering you? And I said, well, this person, David Jackson, I'm an entrepreneur. He used to work for me, and I can't stand the thought of not being out there myself. We are well set. You're making good money. We have 2 kids. We have a house. We have a dream life. And I said, yeah, but is enough. I was only about 35 at the time. At the top of my game, I was a senior engineer to the term. And he said, well, you're doing well. I said, yeah, But that is out there, as an entrepreneur, and I'm stuck here. After more, sessions, she said, "Am I doing something? Am I the problem?" I said, "No, you're not the problem. It's David Jackson who is the problem." I had to, finally leave my job, just leave because I couldn't work anymore. And around late 1981, it was changing. 1981 was the year the IBM PC was introduced, and also the year that Intel, the digital, had published a protocol called Ethernet. And this sense in the air that the world is about to change from the mainframe and large mini computers to this distributed computing model, where the PCs will be desktops and the internet to first in the back. Everything has that now, but back then it was a very revolutionary thought. And so we met with two other friends. We spent about 4 or 5 months coming up with an idea, and we said we will do the computer networking. As these PCs happen, as these workstations happen, we will let them. And so left the job in 1981. I had never been an entrepreneur. No family history of being an entrepreneur, but I unsettled because so had the job to become. By the way, David Jackson was also an immigrant. He was from England. He was in the Valley only about 3 years, and after 2 years he had spent under me, at Interlink. And so I looked at myself. I'm an immigrant. I had a little bit more time. So I realized that you have to be unsettled. Something has to, out of your comfort zone. Because comfort zone, you become very, very stagnant. You're driven by routine. They say you don't have to go to work. There's a project to work on. Have time to sit back and look up and see what's happening. So sometimes to knock you out of your comfort zone, whether my case it was somebody who worked for me. Sometimes you get laid off from a job, it unsettles you. So entrepreneurship starts by journeying out of your comfort zone. You have to step out of your comfort zone, or you have to be knocked out of your comfort zone by something or somebody, and that is a journey into unknown. We did our startup in 1982, April, at dawn of this distributed computing. And we had our ups and downs. Company, did eventually fail well, and it went public in 1987. About 5 years after we became I became an entrepreneur, and it was an absolutely wonderful journey. It had all the ups and downs, all the drama that you see in the startup. The founders had problems with one of the founders, my partner. Inder Mohan Sen, he was from IIT Kharagpur and Yale, PhD from Yale. The CEO, and he turned out to be, sad. He was not a typical entrepreneur, and the company was in trouble, and he was fired by the board. And I became the CEO back in 1985 January, and I don't know, but I brought a very sharp focus to business. We are defining business very, very narrowly, sharply. We will do TCP/IP and Ethernet on the most popular means. The IBM PC at the time, digital mini computers, and some of the more popular machines, and offer a complete solution. And Arvind was one of the people who was instrumental in helping us execute on that one. He was our software manager on the TCP/IP side, and so he drive the whole process for us at the time. Naveen Jain, the other bits gold medalist from 1973, was the VP of software. He had a broader role in the company. It is that you have to become very sharply focused. As a startup, you are very fragile as a company. You have a very limited resources, and yet you can't do a lot, but you have to do some some of the stuff that your customers really need. And I was very aware that people had their mini computers like Waxes, and they had bought Unix machines and they had bought PCs and had this phenomenal power of having to connect all those things. Then the popular method of transferring data between the machines was magnetic tape, a top tape. People would make tape. And it was very hard to make a tape out of a PC. So my sense was, if I could connect a PC to Unix to Waxes, I would have an immediate solution for a large number of customers. That admission drove my focus, and I sharply focused on it to connecting your PC to your Unix machine to your Wax computer, and that turned out to be a very good bet. We did extremely well. The company went public in '87, and by the time I looked up, we had become almost $100 in revenue company, profitable company, and and here I transformed from being an engineer to being a business person overnight, and and I also learned very quickly that everything is has to be reflected in numbers. You cannot be doing stuff that doesn't translate into positive numbers or the bottom line. And so I went from being a design engineer overnight to becoming a hard-nosed, numbers-driven person. And I had put to send fingers on, show me the numbers, show me the growth, show me the customer testimonials. That's the only thing which I would listen to beyond the point. But having said, let me step back and give you some thoughts about entrepreneurship. Only 1 to 2% of the population at large becomes entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs, very small arts. If you are IITian or if you are a bit young, your arts succeeding are probably more than 1 to 2% because you are now selected pool. But a population at large is only 1 to 2%. 98 to 99% against you. So if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, he has to have that math behind him, because when you talk to a venture capitalist, they will put you into this bucket of 98 to 99%. You have to prove out to them, no different, you are the part of the 1 to 2%, but math is against you. Math is against you. So the other problem is that there's no family support. Especially in India, the pressure is on you to settle down, be responsible, your job, so your mom always say, beta, you're not a kid anymore. You have to settle down. You have to become responsible. And by definition, are responsible. They are unsettled. They are restless. They don't have that desire to settle down. They want to go. This new world, and no family support. No mother says, "Beta entrepreneur bano." Responsible for no job with Google, or nowadays back then it was maybe Tata's or some brand name, and many you typically don't support you. Friends, your ghost. Have fun. Go see a film. Go see do something fun, right? And here you're working in the lab. You obviously are trying to do and your friends start to leave you because you're no anymore. So I say that you have to sustain this from inside. When you are art, well encouragement from your friends and family, you have to have this dream and fire from inside. But here's the magic: you can sustain this dream for about 6 to a year. Leave your job and decide to be an entrepreneur and sustain this for 6 months to a year. Your arts improve tenfold overnight. all of, in survey 1 to 2% arts, you are in 10 to 20% arts. Simply just 90% of the people don't even try. 90% of people don't even take that first step. So step becomes the most important step. And you're part of this select group of 10% people who are going to become an entrepreneur, and 1 to 2% of arts in the larger group are 10 to 20% arts. Those are not bad arts if you do the math. You're a gambler. If you have 20% chance of winning, and if you win 5 times the bet you place, you're even. Here, if you win, you're safe. You could make 100 times the 1,000 times the money, right? The upside is unlimited. The downside is very, very limited. You can you fail, you can don't get a job. If you're a qualified engineer, there's no job anywhere in the US or in India if you're an engineer. So bet, which is very, very good bet. Very limited downside, unlimited upside, and decent arts. This is the part most people don't realize. They think of that 1 to 2% arts, but you have to sustain yourself. You have to show the national fortitude that you can say. But this journey is very, very tough journey in the beginning. You come from a world where there is a job, there is a routine, there is a predictability in your life, to a total unpredictable setup, where you have to make decisions for yourself every day. What is important to do today? It's a change, very unsettling change, but you have to sustain that for 6 months to a year. And there, a few things that you need to do here. This entrepreneurial journey is a very low journey. When I became an entrepreneur, of course, it was David Jackson who unsettled me, but I had no mentors. My wife had given me the permission to become an entrepreneur because she's so happy. But she will always tell me, "You do this for me." She was happy as things were, and if I don't, like what I'm doing, she will have no trouble for me to go back to work. So it was never encouragement from her to sleep close. And when I would go talk to somebody, asking for help, back then had a reputation of being only the techies. There was this broad sense that Indians are single-dimensional, good numbers, techies. But they're not the general managers. They're not the marketing types. They're not the sales types. They really don't have the financial. So there's this broad that when I would not talk to somebody for help, and their answer was, "Why are you doing this thing? Why are you not doing where you guys have an advantage? Why do you want to do this thing?" So they were encouragement or support. So it was a very lonely journey for me. And but the point is that it's true for most people anyway. You have to have this thing from inside. So entrepreneurs have to have this passion, but some discipline and some amount of what I call the grit. I need to prove something. I need to do something. Many is not the stuff of a motivation. The opportunity cost of becoming an entrepreneur is very, very high. I got $75 a year salary, and I didn't get back to $75 a year salary for about 2 years or almost 4 years. So you're giving up a huge amount of current income for something which is maybe sort of down the road. So if you're driven by money alone, you won't be able to sustain your entrepreneurial passion, because that's almost there's easier ways to make money out there than becoming an entrepreneur. So this to prove yourself, prove the world that you're as good as anybody else. It is sense was that we are as good people as any out there. If David Jackson from England can come to to US and become an entrepreneur. So Indians should be able to do that too. And by the way, there were no Indian entrepreneurs of any, at the time when I was trying to, there were no models either. So, having said that, having become an entrepreneur, I also started to, eventually we did very well. Company went public in 87, we got merged with Novell in 89. I had Novell for 5 years, and in 1995. And then back, how do we help our people? It's journey was very lonely and very tough, journey. I tell you, it shouldn't have been that lonely, that tough. And some of those thoughts, which gave us the motivation to do the time, provide a forum for our people at the time, and where they can get encouragement, where they can get mentoring, where they can meet like-minded people. Entrepreneurs are oddballs. They're seen as not quite social, by people. And so this forum you could go to, and where you could find in their spirit and get some help, spiritual help. I would use the word. And so that was the basis of Thai. But then I started to think about experience, and one of the things which was more I discovered as an entrepreneur is to be honest. You have to call a spade a spade. You can't be fooling yourself. You definitely don't fool your customers for very long, or your employees. Because they have they what they see. Intellectual honesty becomes very much part of that one. Every day you have to re-justify. And the right stuff. If your customers are unhappy, it's not that customer, it's customer's fault. You have to come back and say, why is my customer unhappy? Am I not serving him? Does my product have a problem? You have to, intellectually analyze that one. So intellectual honesty becomes a very big part of it. If you're losing employees, you have to say, why am I losing employees? It's not a place. Work is not rewarding the right kind of behavior. So everything has to have this intellectual analysis. The part I just told very quickly was, as an entrepreneur, you have to become what I would call the owner of everything, good or bad. You cannot externalize the problem. If something goes bad, an entrepreneur who starts to blame others. Listen, my product delayed because my VP of engineering screwed up and didn't deliver the stuff on time. My customers, I didn't make my numbers because my customers pulled the purchase order from me. When the tappers pull the fencing, so I'm in trouble. It's somebody else's fault always. Entrepreneurs will never succeed. You have to become an entrepreneur who says, I was not sharp enough to see my VP of engineering is falling behind and he needed help. Or my customers were unhappy and didn't pay attention, and I wasn't, understanding the issues that they had. Or I was not able to sell to the VCs. It's fault. It's fault rather than somebody else's fault. This is the most important part of the becoming an entrepreneur, where you own things. You have to learn from what is going on. Next time I'm going to make sure that customers don't get unhappy. I need to pay attention there. So anybody who starts to externalize the blame and it's somebody else's fault is sure to lose as an entrepreneur. You learn from those things. You own up to those things, and so those two are the hallmarks of an entrepreneur. Maybe live here and do the interaction from this point on, because it's not about a whole bunch of things. They have. I can give you 20 speeches. The first point I want to make is, you need to find a way to get out of your comfort zone. Make sure that you stay intellectually honest. Every day you have to answer, am I the right track? Why do I think I'm going to win? What is my special advantage over the competition? And are customers happy? Are my employees happy? your investors happy? Because you need customers to survive, you need employees to serve your customers, and you need investors to make all happen. That's the priority you should have. Customers happy. That's the number one priority. Employees, going to come back to work tomorrow. See, in our business, in this high tech knowledge industry, you have to serve your employees, and they job every day, and you have to make sure that they will come back to work the next day, and because without that, you'll be in trouble. So you have to have this. When I say you have to be tough, that doesn't mean you have to take care of your employees. That does not mean that you have to be easy on your employees. It doesn't mean that you have to multitask them. You have to provide them a fair environment, a fair compensation, and a belief that they are a winning team. Being easy is not a requirement. Being fair is a very good requirement. And yes, in a startup environment, is very corrosive because in the pressure environment, everybody is working 10, 12 hours a day, and in the sense that this place is unfair. Somebody's getting a free ride, or somebody's being favored. It's to eat people, and the places fall apart very, very quickly. So being tough is not a problem, but being unfair is a big problem. We will leave at that, and let's do some interactive part, and then I can hear you, Abhinav.
Yeah, very inspiring. I think the points you made about sustaining from inside, I think that is such an important point in this stage, where there are so many external influences. Let me start the first question. I think you started in 81, and then you actually said in 87 we went to an IPO, and you made it sound simple, and I'm sure it wasn't that simple. No. So I think the question for you is, see what's happening with the teams right now in the class. It's like, hey, I'm doing this idea, but looks like the competitors are doing it, and it looks like somebody else is doing something similar, and creates a negative feeling within the team and creates self-doubt in the entrepreneur. How do you deal with that competition? I'm sure you had many competitors who were thinking about connecting all these PCs and Unix and everything else, but you actually went and won that game and actually got merged with Novell. How did you think? What was the mental frame, and what were the things you did to deal with competition and external factors?
So let me start by saying competition with the market. It's the only person in the marketplace you'll have to, is this a real market or not? Seeing something that nobody else is able to see. Am I so smart? I'm so special. So people, you have to assume that people smarter than you out there looking at the same facts, same market, and coming up with similar ideas. So competition validates the market, and if there's no competition, you should worry. And that's my starting point. And then if you all start at the same time, then you have to say, hey, it's a horse race. Who will execute? Who's smart enough? Who will be responsive? So horse race is it's fine. Let me give you a thought about competition. There are no reasons in competition. If you put a person on the field and you best mile, he will run maybe 12 miles and feel very good about himself, right? But two are on the field and see who runs faster. And this person who ran 12 miles, they may lose. But ultimately he will run faster than 12 miles. He will run 10 miles and lose. So he improves. Competition makes you improve. So you should never say that I don't. Competition is bad. On the other hand, you always have to say, hey, do I have enough in me to compete? Do I have enough insights? Some amount of confidence comes from I can make the difference. I have the special insights. And I will execute the others. Broadly speaking, who's able to build a team and start to execute without executing people who don't have a good team and don't have financing. So there's a race. So that's why I tell people you need to raise money, you need the resources, you need to pay the bills, and so the people who have romantic notion of bootstrapping and not sharing the equity, share the equity. You need to be smart people. I have 2 gold medalists on my team here. From this, you need to be able to attract people and retain them, motivate them. So competition is fine.
So have basically a fiercely competitive spirit, and don't look at the first competitor and feel like, oh, I can't even play this game.
You don't want to come into a field where you don't want to come a day late. 10 people are already doing it, right? But in a new field, there should be 3, 4, 5 competition to find the market. Your video is frozen.
This is from Goa campus. We, have one of our teams is going to make a pitch to you and pose their question and their concern to you. I'll hand it over to the student who will be pitching to you now, sir.
You have a presentation or?
We don't have a presentation. We'll just talk to you for 1 minute about what we're trying to do, and wait to hear any feedback that you have. We implement a website called brainbot.com, and brainbot.com simplifies stock markets. It enables its users to identify within 30 seconds or less whether or not a company is a good long-term investment. And it's on the capacities of fundamental analysis and decision-making powers of artificial intelligence. We provide our users with a one-page company report which brings to his fingertips the intrinsic value of the company, timing indicators, and how the company is fundamentally evaluated. The striking feature of the website is the BrainBot ranking, which is the user to identify correctly the future prospects, and the ranking is given based on a very accurate artificial intelligence algorithm that we're planning to patent. Apart from this, for the do-it-yourself kind of investors, we also give all the essentials of the company along with valuation guides for each of them, so that the users can take a guided but independent decision about whether or not to invest. Another advantage that we have is that while most of our competitors focus on merely providing data, we actually reach forward and tell our users how to interpret the data, so that there is a very clear and concise demarcation of how to invest. So we're starting out with a team of fundamental analysts, economists, and stock market enthusiasts. We have in our team a coder as well as a computer science graduate. I have a professional fundamental analyst who has been in the field and adds experience to the team. On the part of customer research, we talked to a lot of customers through social media channels as well as in person, and the overwhelming response, and we tried to make a very customer-friendly website which even beginners can use as easily as professional investors. So basically, through the website and through a very user-friendly and interactive interface, we hope that we can actually take stock markets in the Indian scenario to anyone and everyone who wants to invest in them. So
let me give you my perspective, right?
Yeah.
I think I got it. I think I got what you're trying to do. So let me ask you: if you have such a deep insight, such a good algorithms, such a good way, why share with anybody else? Why not raise some money and become a fund, get rich quick? I mean, if this is such a good stuff, see, most people who have these deep insights, they become fund managers, or they have a unique insight, unique way of doing things. Why should I share my stuff? Stock market is open forum. Why don't outsmart everybody else?
Actually, to make money in the stock market, you need to have some money. So basically, we think it's a much better prospect if we can reach out to a lot of people who are ready to invest for a smaller price.
So that's the point I made. Do his money from them and become a fund manager and do it for them. That's what most people do, by the way. If they have some deeper insight, they become, they really, you raise $1 million, which is not a large amount of money, and then you show that you can have a steady income and then $1 million, donate a $10 million fund. That several people have done this path. There's a thing called quants on the Wall Street. These guys who are mathematicians. They come up with algorithms, they come up with formula, and they make money. But having said that, who are your consumers? I mean, who are customers? The funds or the individuals?
No, they're long-term retail investors. Basically, anyone who has a portfolio of say around 5 to 50 lakhs.
And your model is? Your model?
So we are a B2C business model. We directly reach out to our customers through our website.
They'll pay you subscription dollars?
Sorry, I did not.
How would you make money?
It's a subscription-based model in which they have to pay per usage of the software. Not exactly per usage. There's a monthly and a yearly subscription model available. Well,
so in those models, you have to go and acquire the customers. You'll have to find a way to acquire customers. To pay in this B2C model until it's proven. So you come up with some kind of freemium model or some kind of model to acquire customers.
The freemium model itself, in which we give guides and evaluation matrix to our users. But if they to avail of the BrainBot ranking and the timing indicators, they need to subscribe. And they're the most important feature of the website. So we first guide our users to a better investment, build a rapport with our customers, and then ask them to.
So even in that model, you may have to expose everything, all your tools and advantages to a consumer. Maybe limited period for 3 months or 6 months. You need to expose them the real value. They have to taste the real value before they are willing to pay. But they will have.
Exactly. We give a list of around 15 companies that the customers can evaluate for free. And then once they've tried the entire evaluation for these 15 companies, they can actually think about subscription.
Let's say I wouldn't put any limitation whatsoever except the time. 3 months or 6 months of free usage, and then if you want to use it beyond that one. But you make sure if the other topics that they want to invest, everybody has their own preferences, right? Type of businesses, type of topics they want to invest in. I never discourage an entrepreneur, but I will make sure that you have to do your business model. Session-based models are very good to have, but they are very hard to execute. Every out there, all the customers, consumers, we say that they are from Missouri. Missouri is a state where they are full of statistics. When you're from Missouri, you don't believe anybody. Show me. It's a show me state. You have to show it to them, right? You need to go out and try. In this age of internet, you said you start from maybe a year or two, so you need to raise enough funding for the VCs or maybe even do on a shoestring budget. See, on internet you can do stuff on a shoestring budget, right? When you're young people, you don't have the software is cheap. The open source software is cheap. You can set up a website very quickly, so you don't need to raise much money. But you need to sustain yourself for a year or two. Then your customers will tell story. Then your customers will become your salespeople by distributing your site.
Actually, the biggest problem currently is that we cannot start charging customers unless we have a data publishing license to our website. So that is where our biggest hurdle lies. We need to pay to get the license, and we're trying to arrange for funds for the same. It's not a very big fee, but for us, that is the challenge.
I mean, how much money are you talking about?
Sir, it will cost around $600 is converted.
$600 is nothing, right? $600 is nothing. I mean, I start to wonder if if that's a barrier. Then 600 is what 3 lakh rupees.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that money should be easily available for your friends, right?
That's the approach that we really want to take, because family.
No, family and friends, money is a very good money. It also puts you on a path to become, be honest, because you have this now moral commitment. See, you take the investors' money and we lose about it, but family and friend money comes with a lot of moral obligations with it, right? And that's seen by your investors, definitely by VCs, as a very good endorsement of you. Who's best? Who has the best, most faith in you? Your family and friends. They are willing to put even small amount of money on you. It becomes a great testimonial for me to say, this guy might be serious enough to put some money in. So I look at family and friend money as a good endorsement of you by people who know you best.
Right.
And your goal is to return that money to them tenfold, hundredfold, right? You take it as an investment rather than as a charity, right?
Yes. Thank you, sir.
I look at family and friend money as a very good endorsement. You know you best, they bet on you. Why should I bet on you if the people who know you best don't bet on you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello.
I'm here. Yeah, station here. India Travels.
Good evening, Akhil Singh. Good evening, Kanwal sir, Raju sir, and Arun sir. I'm Singh from Goa campus from Cubito.in and aim to change the way people travel in India. We believe that there's a problem in the transportation in India. And to go deeper into it, if we talk of public transportation, there are a lot of problems. It is not a point-to-point solution. It's overcrowded. It waits in between for the people to pull in. There are a lot of hassles associated with it. Take private transportation in consideration, then we lose a lot of money. It drains out your pocket. A middleman cannot afford to cab a call every day. He needs to travel to his office. And the social aspect of it is it is added to the growing effect in India and the pollution. So I think that we need to solve the problem, and the solution we have is a space between the public and private transportation. If we take an economic model of public transportation, that is sharing, which leads to the low cost of the transportation, but that leads to the low comfort of the mode. And if we take the private transportation into consideration, this model is its backbone, the comfort, but the way it is provided, it leads to high cost. So Cubito provides the sharing, the economic model of the public transportation and the comfort model of the private transportation. And it can be the best comfort to cost ratio. So if we draw a graph between the comfort and cost, we clearly see that Cubito lies in the high comfort, low price zone. With the private transportation is in the high comfort, high price zone, and the public transportation low comfort, low price zone. So the high comfort, low price zone is the most sustainable mode of transportation. And the back end of the Cubito.in is the technology. We focus on optimized pooling. We don't just pool in people sharing a common destination and a common time, but also real-time parameters like time and the route. The operations are automated, which removes the human interaction and the hassles that can creep in. And the queuing is on the part of the cab drivers. The server takes in the driver and allot it to the customer, and then the driver comes in. It removes the human interaction from the complete thing.
Akhil, can you also share a little bit about the traction? What is the traction you have got? So
yes, I
understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So saying all the things, the benefits one gets through Cubito is he gets a comfort to cost ratio. He gets better networking. When you are traveling with the people who are sharing the common route, you are improving network. The social aspect of it is you are reducing the number of vehicles on the road, and there's also a reduction in the pollution.
Let me stop here. As an entrepreneur, you should dispense with all the social goals. You are here to make this business successful. Pollution and other things, that to me sounds like weak thinking. your job is to make this business successful. Your pollution is reduced, doesn't do anything for you. Except that at the door, me as an investor start to say, yeah, this guy is a soft thinker, he's not a hard thinker. You need a hard growth, which is number one. How do you know air pollution is being reduced? As you're not even a drop in the bucket here, right? So I would dispense with that growth, and I will dispense with the other growth. How do I money? How do I make this business sustainable? How do I move forward? How do I grow this business? Do you see the number of acres on the road? Who cares? How would you measure that? That you're such a, why is that a goal?
These outcomes, once the people...
outcome, the successful entrepreneur, successful business has a huge social outcome. Jobs and wealth and all sorts of benefits to society. But those are not the roles that you have. Your role is to make this business happen, right? So I think you should dispense with any of the social roles as your, you need to get down to hardcore, measurable, doable things that matter to make your business happen. So everything is, to me, becomes a little bit of nonsense, right? This is one of the problems. You need to become very hard-nosed about how do I get this thing? What's my business model? How do I make money? How do I become self-sustained? So have you been in business for a while?
Yes, sir.
Are you up and running? Is your site up and running?
Yes, it's running. We are working from last 3 months, and more than 2,500 customers have traveled through Cubito.
Is a right sharing model, right? The people share right?
To share the right.
Several people have tried this model in US for the last 15 years. Nobody's been able to build a successful growing company that I'm aware of. So unless I hear something, tell me what is the what's your business model? How do you make money?
The thing is, if the cost rupees X, we pay X amount to the cab drivers, and if 4 people, the cab has a capacity of 4. If 4 people comes pool in, they pay X plus 20% of the rate. So one trip we get 20% of the rate, and the customers get the reduced prices.
Yeah. Ride sharing has been around for a long time. I mean, you try to automate that one. If you can make it happen. At the large enough scale, I'm sure places like Bangalore, places like Mumbai, to use. I remember in 1979, 1980, I went to India and I wanted to go to Pune from Bombay. There was a place in Dadar, where the drivers would line up and wait for 4 passengers to drive away. So it's being done, because and you have to go to Dadar. You have to do that, but I don't know if you can sustain this from point A to point B. But on high density areas, where people are going from neighborhoods to jobs, I'm sure you could sustain it. But it's a tough business model. It's a tough business model.
Yeah. So one thing I think what they're doing smartly in their defense is that instead of making it available to general public, where the routing algorithms can really kill the business, what they're doing instead is target high density traffic, right? So going
that's it. High density target dots. That's what you just made here. If you become selective, they get fit between these 2 points. If that's the case, like I told you, back in Bombay and Pune, all about traffic from Bombay was from Dadar. There was a taxi drivers who queued up on that road, and that stopped, where 4 cars at a time went on the taxi. So that was a similar route, but I'm sure there are other. It's a dual model, but it's not a broad general purpose model. You have to become effective. Discourage and entrepreneurs. Let me start by saying there, my goal is to put holes in your theory and in your belief system. If you are able to fend me off, more for you.
Make it.
Yes, please, Arvind. Yeah.
a little experience with the question that you posed in the beginning about competition. I personally loved, what's the gentleman's name? Akhil?
Yes.
No.
No, this is the person asking the question. No, yeah.
Akhil. Yeah, I love Akhil's idea, especially because, you know, I spent quite a bit of time in India because my family being there and Bombay, and I was routinely with, you know, using a bus from Jaipur to, you know, Delhi airport. But I know this ride-sharing problem, and there is a you must have heard of Zipcar. I mean, they're pretty good now in New York, etc. I think this model might work very well, especially for van pooling. Of course, Kanwal will give you the ideas in terms of business, and I'm sure these situations are complex. One of the things that I appreciate from Kanwal is the way they all to tell you things. But in the initial stages, never be discouraged. No, I have one message. I mean, I said, fend off, waiting for venture money, then yes. One of the dangers I would like to point out is venture money is never cheap. In terms of, you are an entrepreneur, you are risking your life, your savings and everything. So you have a solid gut feel, go with it. In the sense, of my daughter-in-law is a baker, she's the vice president, I won't tell you the name. A crazy friend of mine always is giving entrepreneurial ideas. First, his son to do medical travel systems. Then he's asking his daughter to be in Flipkart. You must have heard of Flipkart. So people from Amazon background and all that, that's good. So the that you have presented, in my mind, you a lot of good advice. Once you I want you to fend off. A trick is not to let go. Just trying to catch with Kanwal, you know. I mean, you have time. Don't discourage you. I mean, give you the money. But you give up. Once entrepreneur gives up, there is no hope. That's basically what I'll say. The thing is, never enter the market to make money. The money will not come to you. लक्ष्मी पीछा करोगे तो लक्ष्मी नहीं आएगी. आपके पास सिर्फ एक चीज है, वो है आपका guts और creativity. So be short on creativity. That is the number one thing that I'll say, Kanwal. The best thing with Kanwal was, Kanwal himself probably does not mention it anymore. Kanwal's strength going into the business was being a businessman. He was not a businessman. He was a great hardware designer. Now, people used to respect him for that. And, if anything, I was more of a software manager, and that career, and they trapped me into coming to Excellent by appealing to my Indian prism. But I always was talking about doing something in India. A very good friend, operations manager, operations VP, Vishra, called me. Hey, you keep talking about going to India. Here, this great project for you to manage, which is falling apart. That was the project done by Madhu Mehta, you've heard of, in Bora. And Madhu is a great person from here who did our projects in India. And so, all thing is, to me, Kanwal has always been inspirational because his technical insight first, and then as a great manager. I, in fact, rejected Excellent 6-7 months before, had talked to him, other thing as you heard of, and others, and always goes for the gut, and that's the beauty. I'm going to join, and I expressed my reservations about a few people there. So not only, and Vish Mishra was a very, very fine relations. So it was on my tail, and told me, I said, we are going to fair in the thing in 2 months. I can say that now, don't publicize it, but so direct. That's what I loved about him. So that's so forthright. And he also gave me a much, much better equity, as he said. Not enough, but enough to catch me in at that time.
Yeah.
How was the
Okay.
Saying to Akhil, you should take Kanwal's advice. Don't listen to the naysayers. You got to sustain from inside.
Yeah.
So same advice applies to you.
Yes. I think the point I'm trying to make to you is that you should have clarity that I can reach a self-sustained model very quickly. You kick it about 2 years, from our study, and you have to get there, and you have to show progress, that this is inching towards, moving towards self-sustenance. By the way, venture capital and investment money earlier is very expensive money. There's no doubts about that one. And best money, is the family and friends money, and if you're able to bootstrap, but that puts you at a disadvantage with respect to competition, and not able to compete is even more expensive than the expensive venture capital money.
Absolutely.
So, anything else on this one, or?
Yeah, let's take more questions. Do you have anything last thing to say, or otherwise we can move on to the next?
One last thing that I wanted to put forward is the way the things that we were doing differently as compared to the other competitors that Sir mentioned was, first thing, like Abhinav mentioned, that we're pitching it first to the closed groups. You see the 4 logos of the 4 companies whom we have already partnered with within 60 days of our functioning, as well as we have this dynamic pricing system, so that our business is like we have 5 to 25% of margin in every travel, and even on backs out, we do not incur losses, and at the same time, a customer is paying as less as 50% of the actual cost. So that way, the comfort and the cost both are satisfied.
Yeah. If you can fill up the taxis, everybody bigger, right? There's no doubt about that one. Because there's enough to go around. And start with campuses. Infosys campus, Wipro campus. Persistence here. So there is a one destination point is shared, and then you can find the people coming from same neighborhoods. So NS has to have a point of leverage. You don't have to do every day or every transaction. I don't have to spend any. So there's a point of leverage here by finding businesses where maybe departments can help you build the teams. There is sustained team from point A to point B, which is normally professional going to work, would be a point of leverage, right? So I see the merits. By the JIP business that talked about is business started by a woman entrepreneur. Where you can rent car for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and she has found with Stanford University. Stanford University has a gift card lot. Everyone says rent car for 2 hours, 3 hours. All over San Francisco and New York City. So there are models that work. Internet enables a lot of these things. Now.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll move questions from Pilani now.
Yes, Pilani, go ahead. Yeah.
Jimmy.
So the question is not for this, but then obviously more of a vision that we have for our team. So
can you speak a little slow? Your audio is pretty bad, so just speak slowly so we'll catch it. Yeah.
Sure. So we are in the healthcare sector, and what we're trying to do is make a website, a free web service that allows patients to book appointments and review doctors. Our long-term vision is the same, is to eliminate the hassle of visiting doctors when you're sick. So what we're trying to do is create a software. You can consult the doctor of your choice right from your phone. Get the best advice irrespective of which city you are in. What this translates to is basically if you are in a new city and if you want to consult the doctor of your choice, you can do that through this software. And this software also allows you to share different kinds of reports such as CPC, X-ray, or your normal medical report. So So the roadblocks we're facing in this vision in India as such is the knowledge about healthcare. If someone has to access something like this, he has to have some kind of basic knowledge. And also the apprehension to see a doctor online in the Indian scenario is added. So we would like to have views on the same.
You know, it's very hard to understand because they are not very good. But broadly speaking, I think you talked about have doctor visit online instead of in person. The medical doctor's visit typically require the doctor to examine you and all that, and there's a lot of medical sites you can go and get advice in any fashion, but sweet advice for what ails you. I don't know if you can do that on the internet alone, or will customers will never accept that as a final solution. But I have seen a lot of business brands out of India promote Medicare being offered. But in those environments, there is a certain amount of trainers. Maybe there is a crowd of some instruments. The doctors can talk to you over the internet or the video. Somebody's taking your blood pressure. Somebody's helping doctor examine you. Do it just yourself and doctor. I don't know. I don't know if there's doctors who will accept that. Let alone nations.
Any follow-up, Kulani? You want to have a follow-up question on that?
Yes, sir. Sir, as a matter of fact, in our market research, we spoke about doctors and also doctors who are going to be future professionals, and there was no inhibition from their side. My question was related to the customer side, where we have to break the apprehension of actually visiting a doctor physically. So when we try to break this normal mindset, we have a problem from the customer side, from the patient side. So doctors as of now have always been positive in regards to this idea. So just how do we break this traditional mindset?
So changing habits, going atmosphere is the hardest thing to do. If business model requires the change in the attitude and change in habits, then the bay will have to freeze over before that happens. It requires deep pockets, long staying power. Somebody like Steve Jobs and his charisma, to say it for a long time before that happens. But a typical entrepreneur needs to service a need and a pain in the easiest possible fashion without having to change the behavior. Behavior change is the hardest thing to do. I think it's not possible, but it's a slow process. It takes generational changes, age changes. The younger people adopt faster than the older people. By and large, my sense is everybody has apprehension during the doctor. You never know what's going to happen when you're disturbed. But the nature of the beast, right? I don't know if you can solve that problem by doing it remotely. You still fundamental anxiety, right? You have to see doctor. I don't know what you're going to find. But I haven't got the good sense of your business to give any specific advice. Because audio is very bad from
Pilani. Okay, good question. Let's move to Hyderabad. Anything from Hyderabad?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Is a student from Hyderabad.
Yeah. Good morning to you, sir. It's wonderful listening to you and interacting with you. And students have some questions to ask.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
Morning, this is This is Garvit from Hyderabad campus. I have a pretty general question. As an entrepreneur, what are the most difficult choices that we have to make in our life, and at what stages does that choices occur?
The entrepreneur process is an event, is a journey, right? Journey that you decide to make. First of all, you set a goal that I want to be an entrepreneur, and I prepare myself to become an entrepreneur. Here's what happens. To become an entrepreneur, you have to become a generalist rather than specialist. If you do your master's and your PhD and you specialize in something, your opportunity cost of becoming an entrepreneur goes up, because I become very specialized. My specialty is in demand. I make tons of money, and living that becomes a problem. To become an entrepreneur, first of all, you have to become a broad person. Instead of being just a specialist in engineering, you need to start understanding the marketing part, selling part. You need to start understanding the customers. So people that entrepreneurs, to become an entrepreneur, you have to start to understand the customer and market, and that means you need to get into sales, customer service, customer support at your company, which are the not attractive jobs for engineers in many cases. Everybody wants to do a design work. Everybody wants to do write software. So entrepreneurs are sales people. You have to be selling all the time. You have to sell yourself to let go of the salary. You have to sell spouse to let you give up job and salary, because it's going to impact her also. You have to sell your parents and your mother-in-law and your father-in-law, and to sell to the potential employees and partners who come and work with you for less than your market salary and suffer along with you. Then you have to sell to the investors to give you money long before you have anything to sell in the marketplace. And then you have to go sell to the customers long before your product is perfect and really working, right? So you have to be selling all the time. So the number one thing is you have to learn to become a salesperson. A good storyteller, say a story with the confidence, and believe in the story too. By the way, you can't sell it unless you believe in yourself. So if you said that I want to become an entrepreneur, you need to move towards the customers in your organization. Find your where you're interacting with customers, to see how they think, how they are. What do you need to do to be able to serve your needs, right? So I have a theory that the optimum age to become an entrepreneur is something like around 27-28, because by the time you have 4 or 5 years of early experience, you're young enough and foolish enough to see, know that you have enough energy and you have very few obligations. Make the plans, and by the time you start to reach 30s, you need to become practical and sound. You have the kids and the family. So there's a door of becoming an entrepreneur from age 27 to 37. You're young and push and full of energy and full of hope, but you're seasoned enough because you have spent 4 or 5 years at some reputable company to learn some basic business processes.
Experience.
But it's a journey. You set a goal. You get comfortable, and you don't get rooted. But one more advice. If you work at 2 or 3 different companies in 5 or 6 years, you're much better off than working for one company. And you get exposed to 2 or 3 different way of business, 2 or different way of thinking. That every company has a way of doing things. Every company has their own thinking, right? You get sort of exposed to 2 or 3 different ones. So you have to become a generalist rather than a specialist. You can always hire specialists to work for you.
Let me tag on to that, Kanwal. I had one question and something I've asked myself. So there are different traits, individual traits required as an entrepreneur, and 3 I think stand out. What I'd like you to do is tell me which 3 matter most in the order, first, second, third, and add some color to this. One is passion, a lot of passion per idea, but with passion the downside is days go bad.
Yeah,
When a day goes bad, passion doesn't make sense. It's like, hey, I'm not happy. Second is persistence, going through, and third is talent. Just, I mean, you can have all passion and persistence, you're just not smart enough or talented enough. Now, rank these three, and how do the students develop these skills?
So let me add a fourth one.
Okay.
Which is to me is very most importantly leadership. Yes. Because lead to me means I am able to lead a team of smart people, right? I acquire talent. I can very smart people if I'm able to convince them to come and work with me, right? I don't have to have all talent. I don't need to be able to design the web. I don't need to be able to write software. Arvind was there to write software for me. And he was much smarter than me, as a person. Persistence is almost always required. And like I told you, passion with discipline. Passion alone by itself. The raise your voice is there's a lot of intellectual input there, right? I need to have discipline. I need to have passion has to be tempered with realism, right? So I have never given talent the number one billing. You can hire very much smarter people than you. Of course, you need to motivate them. You need to give them enough equity. You need to be able to convince them that they are going to be part of a winning team. So that to me always comes back to leadership. Second, entrepreneurs by definition are leaders. They have to lead an army of 70 people to desert. Say, stick with me and we will arrive on the far side, right? And that leadership to me is the one more than anything else.
Well, isn't the leadership tested in bad times and things are not going
right? It's tested.
But then at that point, is persistence bigger than leadership in those days?
Persistence is part of the leadership.
Okay.
Persistence is part of the leadership. You have to persist. Here's how it works. Always So it's when the world is falling apart, that's when the leadership comes into play, right? So, but my thinking is that when you are at the bottom of the valley, when you hit the bottom, the next step is always up. There is no further down the road, right? On the other, if you're at the top of the mountain, that step is always down. Leaders are very aware, and leadership really comes into play when the world is falling apart. You have to hold your team together. You have to give them the faith. They have to have the faith in you. And the point I made earlier about fairness, the fairness becomes a very major part of leadership. Leadership is very fair to all its team members. Everybody knows that that matters here is the performance, and there's no favoritism and there's no fairness in the environment. So these things come into play, and to me, above all, are natural born leaders. They have to inspire the team. The world is falling apart.
I want to add. Sorry. Go ahead. I have 2 cents right at this point. One thing I'd say about Kanwal, the last item that he mentioned, we all possess leadership to some extent. And of course, the chief has to be a bigger leader than anybody, which Kanwal always did. I mean, he succeeded in his town of Provo, Utah, became the executive vice president of this huge company. And as he said, his thing was he went to the place and said, I'll bring a 2x4 and beat you guys up if you don't produce software. That's one thing. But the second is fairness. And I have to give some acknowledgement here. Doesn't matter who started his X or whatever. I spent time with him. It became clear to me that he was so eminently fair. I mean, I certainly was with my people, but I followed in his model. And he rewarded, he put right at the top alongside the other founders. Because, he knew. One more thing that I wanted to add, was, just in spirit of what Kanwal said, that number one thing is indeed what I've been is persistence. And in dark times, Kanwal knew how to pull us through. So you don't get greedy. And some of the other co-founders were greedy. But Kanwal said, no, we have to pass through this dark phase. So went for reduced evaluation and pulled us through getting the money and taking us over. So persistence, hard work, and fairness. These three are very important.
I'll just answer a great comment. I'll just paraphrase what Kanwal said and try to apply to the students here because that is more important.
Yes.
So in paraphrasing, leadership along with persistence is the number one important trait. And how to develop, I don't think Kanwal touched upon, but we'll get to that. But second is passion with discipline, which is not in passion, hey, I'm hungry, I want to do this, but you actually have some thought process. And the third one was talent, which is your personal talent, but also a team that you can attract and do. In terms of applying to the teams here, I know many student teams here are some point that, hey, my idea is not going anywhere, I'm not sure if it makes sense, I don't have, the team is falling apart. Now is the time to bring that leadership and persistence into play. So please take that message, if there's one message you're taking today, and that's part of the learning process. And if you could add anything to develop these skills, Kanwal, how to develop these skills?
So let me tell you, the entrepreneurial journey is very high highs and very low lows in very rapid succession. You are on a roller coaster. One day you are at the top of the world. First our came from customer, everything seems to be working. You become very exuberant. The next day, something's wrong and you fall off the edge of the the world. And this is in the nature of the beast. Very high highs and very low lows. An entrepreneurial leader has to temper his both his exuberance and his pessimism. When the world starts to look like really rosy, he needs to say, guys, this is not the end of the world. This is just a day, just an event. And when the things just fall apart, it doesn't work, cancel his order, or the hardware doesn't work, or some software bugs were disturbed, you need to come back and temper that one too by saying that, it's one more thing we need to worry about and solve. So he needs to build the whole thing onto an even keel, temper, we can dampen the highs and the lows and keep everybody on the, there's another day, another fight. So you as a person have to become very, very much a self-controlled person. You cannot let your inner feelings out. Even when you are falling apart inside, you have to project outside the confidence, because if you lose confidence, your whole team will fall apart quickly because they're looking up to you. You need to be like a rock of Gibraltar. So they tell people you have to be like a duck, which is swimming in a pond and looking very majestic, and packs hell on the bottom. Nobody, who me worried, you're paddling like hell on the bottom, to get out of trouble. So, this is my Dutch theory of management. You need to project, you can be confident in people. But you can't lie to them. You can't tell them everything is fine when they know that everything is not fine. Because everybody's smart. You have to acknowledge everybody's, everybody has eyes and ears, but you have to put your spin on it by saying that, hey, this shall pass too, and let's get together, and it's a matter of this is just a aberration. So you need to provide that kind of anchoring to the whole team, right? And being anchored yourself.
One comment before you wrap up. One comment. I forgot that. One thing to say, since I'm from Pilani, I'm very proud. And I'm very proud of Kushraj. I expect him to be the professor of entrepreneurialism or something.
No,
but one thing I wanted to say about students is, do not try to emulate somebody outside. You're a student. So with folks like Abhinav and Mike, I don't know whether he's there or not. He started the practice school. It was gem of an institution. It was after I left, but it did well. So and within your team, like an incubator. Don't that you will make money. So practice amongst your friends. Projects. Create something for Pilani. Create something for your college. Create and work with your professor. And the thing is, when you take up a job, be an entrepreneur and mean it. If someone puts you in a lousy job, and leave it. One of my friends, 7 times, he says he does not want to stay in a company which does not allow him to be challenged. So be an and you will become an entrepreneur. Or you might be a Bill Joy. Either one is okay.
Absolutely. So, we were past our time. Thanks for the comments, Arvind. And Kanwal, I think Mridula ma'am, are you still there? I think we lost Goa, did we? Are you coming back
now?
Goa? Yeah, go ahead, Kanwal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be in Cochin in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a Thai conference in Cochin for 2 days. Yeah. So Goa is not too far from Cochin, but he was a travel.
Yes, actually, so that's an open invitation for the Goa students that Kanwal is willing to meet you if you are hungry enough to go meet him in Cochin. And his advice, time, money, and not time, I don't know, but advice and money definitely available if you can convince him. I don't think it's easy to get it, but it's available. So I think Lani has a question, but we'll have to wrap up. We have past time. So you can email the question over to Rachit and faculty members. We can forward it. Ari Kumar sir, if you want to wrap up, the audio is not clear. Yeah, go ahead, try it.
Let me try. All the questions are pretty quick, but keeping you the positive time.
On time, Kanwal, can you take
If I get 2 minutes to go to the bathroom, I can spend another 15-20 minutes.
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, if the student... Okay, yeah.
So let me go to the bathroom, but 2 minutes, I'll be right back.
Thank you.
So I just...
Maybe I will can talk meanwhile.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thanks, Kanwal.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Abhinav, where are you located?
I am currently in Hartford, Connecticut area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you are a BITSA member. You are not from Pilan right now.
No, I am in fact. This is I'm an alum. So I'm just helping.
Oh, you are an alum. I see. Yeah, you were speaking. Looked like you were a professor in Pilani.
Maybe I have a second career option. But Hari Kumar sir, you were saying something.
Arvind, Abhinav being a professional here this course 4 years back, he is with us. I would say more of an adjunct faculty and a professor. So Arvind is a career. He has met very many entrepreneurs in the last 4 years by keenly developing this course and new creation. And it's his passion. He is with us, no kind of strategy. And I keep thinking and visualizing that he would be an entrepreneur anytime also. But his passion is not.
Yeah, so let's talk about the class, and I think there's a lot of other people who have been involved. What I've done is just brought people together, which is very easy to do with technology like WebEx available. So there's not a lot more. I think students, I know the question is bubbling, so please try to make the most of the next 15 minutes he's offering. I will have to excuse myself. I have to get going, Professor Hari Kumar, because I have a commitment. But continue with the question for another 15 minutes and then let move on. You want to
Professor, I'll also have to leave, so I hope that you can moderate the session and make sure that the things will go perfectly. So we'll have to take our leave.
Yeah, we shall take care of it. So here the question was from Pilani to the student. Hello, sir. Respond.
I hear you.
Good morning, sir. Actually, I've been having this question in my mind for a long time now, but I haven't brought it up. Thing is that, let's say there's a new young entrepreneur. This is the first time he's entering into the field of startup or entrepreneurship on his own. And actually, he believes that he has a very big idea, which can change a lot of things if the idea is implemented properly. But since he's new to the field of startups and entrepreneurship, and nobody is trusting in him and believing him so much his idea. So what he wants to do is maybe he wants to start something else, a small venture, and establish himself as and increase his circle first. Then actually once he has everything these things, then he wants to actually go about his original idea, the bigger one. So is it okay if people even if they are not so interested or enthused about an idea, but still just because he wants to establish himself before going into the bigger one, his dream, is it okay if he starts with some other thing? It's not his passion.
Yeah. So let me give you an answer. He entrepreneur the first time has any belief in him and he doesn't have a network. Nothing new there. So he fears and doubts are fine, because that's in the nature of the beast also. So, yeah, I mean, you have to do your startup, and you don't have the background in business, you don't have the background in things, and nobody has any faith in you. You are part of that 1 to 2%, like I mentioned earlier, and everybody will put you into 1 to 2%. But you have to believe yourself that you are part of that. You're part of that 1 to 2%. Everybody will think you're part of the other 98 to 99%, right? So that inner strength has to be there. Put in your dream off. It makes sense because the markets move on. Us might grab that idea and do. So if you don't feel you're ready, you need to get prepared. I told you it's an entrepreneurial journey, and then you prepare yourself for 3 or 4 years. But the idea that you have may not be valid idea 3 years down the road. The world has changed on you. Meanwhile, the world is not waiting for you. The world is not static, right? So ideas have a time place. When they are valid and when they need to be executed. So don't do something else, but you don't expect that idea and that thing that opportunity to wait for you.
Your last question. Morning, this is Chirag from Pilani campus. We're trying to make a portal which basically offers a seamless interface that combines the offerings of a technical analysis charting software and that of a trading terminal. So basically, whatever you do on a charting software, technical analysis charting software, all the drawing tools and the technicals and the charts, you can do everything online. So you access it from anywhere, your home, your office, even if you're on the go, you in your iPad. And so, like, whatever alternatives that are present today in India, the other popular finance portals, they focus a lot on other company information, news, but the focus is very less on charts. Our main focus is on the charts and the technicals we want to provide, and the interface, the user interface. So, the problem, I need your critical advice on the revenue model for our business. How can we charge our customers? What should be the best way? Because the initial investment is high because we want to provide them real-time tick-to-tick prices, or the 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15-minute charge that is not provided by any free web portal in India at present. But at the same time, until the proof of concept happens from the customer side, they won't be willing to pay us. So what should be the revenue model for this business?
So no customer is willing to pay you until your stuff works and has a certain reputation about it, right? So that's the part of startup process. You'll have to do bad bow and steel, family and friends, to get started, and then do sell to some angel investors, venture capitalists to give you some money. The initial validation of your stuff has to be done with your own efforts. Customers have choices. By the way, most customers feel that stuff coming from a startup company is very risky, and they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to use it until they start to get some references from others. Not to be the first person to be using your stuff. You need to become very generous, very smooth, and find customers who are willing to try your stuff even for free. If you're a software company, your first 3, 4, 5 customers may have to be given stuff free, and you may have to hold their hand to them the value of your stuff. And once they start to succeed, they will sing your praises. They will become your references. So I won't worry about getting the business model and the money from the initial set of customers. I want to make sure that my stuff is being perfected and is being given a seal of approval by some real customers. And once you have that, you can take to the market with that kind of validation behind you. Startup process requires you to for a while, 6 months, a year, 3, 4 friends may have been initial prototyping, some family and friend support. There's angel clubs in India now. There's angel club in Bombay. There's angel club in Delhi. There's angel club in Bangalore. There's angel club in I don't know if there's one in Hyderabad or not yet, but Indian Angel Network, these people are willing to put 25 lakh rupees, 50 lakh rupees, even up to a crore of rupees into the startups. I'm pretty impressed with the angel clubs in India. So there is this activity which is willing to give you the, and of course there are about 15 venture capitalist firms which are going to give you 5 to 20 crore of rupees. But it's your job, it's your burden to prove that the idea that you have is a large enough idea. Most capitalists like to invest in a newly emergent, rapid growing marketplace, and you go after a existing marketplace. Assuming you're talking about the technical analysis of stock markets when you talk about chart, right? A very established market with a large number of established players out there. We have to have a huge advantage. You have to have a huge advantage in terms of performance, in terms of pricing, and those are tough things to finish by the venture capitalists. New, rapidly expanding marketplaces are easy thing to expand, easy thing to finance.
So I think we'll come to the end of this session today. The questions will keep going. It has been really a great privilege for all of us, especially all of our students across the three campuses, gain from your wisdom and your experience deeper insight about what an entrepreneurship is. I really said that what matters most is leadership, persistence, and your self-belief in an idea. It's true and prove it to the world that by being alone, you can co-create, you can build, and you can lead and transform the world around you. It has really very insightful session for all of us. I, on behalf of all my students, all faculty colleagues, on behalf of Abhinav and Rajat, our key team members, would like to express our sincere gratitude to Kanwal Rekhi, others, Arvind Agrawal, for taking out time, early morning to the area, and late in the night for all of us. And we've been looking forward for visit of Arvind as well as Kanwal Rekhi, our campus, and when convened to them. It has been really a great moment for all of us, and I would say unforgettable moment, which has really given a direction to our students. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. I would request now to a big hand for taking out his valuable time to be with us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kanwal. Thanks very much for taking the time.
And
students, if you have questions, please pass it along to Rachit, myself, faculty members will pass it to Kanwal, and he may be able to respond. No guarantees, at least you can try,
No,
go ahead,
I look forward to coming to all the big campuses. I've been to all the IITs, I have been to all the IIMs, and maybe about 50 other universities in India. I look forward to coming to Pilani with maybe Raju Reddy and even Fani Sama. I'll give it a priority.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kanwal. And thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.